Hey, hello, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us for this quarter's update on what's new in Cumulocity, highlighting some of the recent product features that have been launched in the last quarter, and some of the things that will be upcoming in the next quarter. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. So obviously we're going to have a Q&A throughout the session, and at the end of each presenter's section, they'll address any questions that come up. So please go ahead and get your questions into the chat as soon as possible, as soon as they come up, and we'll address those as we go through. Also, if you check under the documents, the docs tab, there are the presentation from today, and a few additional items are available, product release notes, and also if you're new to Cumulocity, an opportunity to schedule a demo if you'd like to do that as well. And finally, if you can stay at the end, we're going to have a survey just asking for your feedback on the session to help us improve the programming for future sessions. So if you can stay on an extra minute at the end to take care of that, that would be very appreciated. But now to get started, I'll go ahead and hand things off to Nico Neuberg to kick things off and get with the session.
Thank you very much, Alex. So let's get started. I guess most of the faces are very familiar, so you already know that this webinar is for people who are using Cumulocity regularly or are experts even on Cumulocity. And we do that once a quarter and speak not just about features that have been released recently, but we also share a bit of insights on what are the product teams working on and what is actually going on in our development team. And most importantly, of course, we are also here to answer your questions. So if you have any question with regards to a feature we present or any other question, just put it in the chat, and I hope we will have enough time in the end to go through that. And with that, let's get started. As you all know, Cumulocity helps you to connect and manage your distributed assets. And what is most important, it's to unlock the value of the data that's in the assets and to use that data to build smart connected products and automate your processes or automate your operations. And along these themes, we have a lot of exciting updates to share with you today. And let me very quickly cover the agenda. So we will start it today with the right-hand side of this graphic, where we will show you new ways how to contextualize your IoT data so it becomes more meaningful. This is something we see especially important today as we are thinking more about AI agents and how they interact with our products. So this context is something that leverages makes AI agents much more powerful when interacting with, for example, Cumulocity IoT to gather insights. And Raul will also show you a preview of our Agent Manager. That is a new tool we are launching to help you make it very easy to explore agentic use cases and get to a point where without any code, you can build your own agentic systems in the context of Cumulocity IoT. And then something else, which is very important. In the last webinars, Jane shared some insights on the MQTT service. Today, we will go a step further. So one of the key challenges in IoT is how to actually prepare OT data so that it becomes truly useful. And here we believe that generative AI can really change the game. And this is why we are investing in what we call a data preparation framework. And while it's not yet here, Tel will share today first insights about how does it look like, how does it work, and what we are envisioning in that space. And we're also very much looking here forward to your feedback. And last but not least, Aaron and Chris will give an update on our analytics capabilities. Aaron will speak a bit about our new smart rules functionality that is very exciting in my opinion. And then Chris will share how to access and analyze historical IoT data through an chat interface. So basically how non-data scientists can very easily interact with data which is stored in the Cumulocity system. And with that, I'm now handing over to Rahul to kick it off.
Thanks, Nico. Yeah. So hi everyone, I'm Rahul Talreja. I'm the product manager for IoT applications. Today I will be showcasing you what new innovation we have been doing in the application enablement. And as usual, I will be taking you through today around kind of giving a live demo of all the innovations we have been doing. Just 1 second. I'm trying to share my screen.
Hi, Rahul. We can't hear you. Are you? I think we might be having some audio difficulties.
Is it audible now?
Yeah. Okay. Now we can hear you. Thank you. There we go.
Sorry. Yeah. So let's get started. I will start from the beginning then. So the first innovation we have been working upon is a unified property library. So as of today, the property library in Cumulocity exists in multiple applications. So we have a property library in administration where you can define properties for your inventory, alarm, events, and as well as you have a second property library in Digital Twin Manager where you define the properties for assets. So until today, we have been kind of improving our Digital Twin Manager offering, where we have improved a lot on the property library in Digital Twin Manager. And one of the upcoming releases, we are going to enhance the property library and provide a unified property library where you can define all the static metadata you would like to define for all your assets, devices, alarms, or any managed object within Cumulocity. So this is currently in private preview and will be available in the coming months. This will allow you to define all the properties at a single place, manage all of them at a single section, and then use them in different applications, for an example, in cockpit, in device management, or even in Digital Twin Manager. The second enhancement. So in the last release, you would have heard about we introducing certain new APIs in private preview. So we have been working on the digital twin APIs in the last few quarters. We have introduced new APIs known as definitions API and asset API. And in this release, we have introduced a new plugin. So if you open your extension section in administration, you will be able to see the two new plugins we have added in the last quarter. So you will notice the first plugin is Open API Documentation, which you can install in any of your Digital Twin Manager application. And once you install this, you will be able to experience the APIs directly into the your DTM application. So these consist of both the APIs. So this is the assets API, which allows you to fetch, let's say, retrieve, update, or delete any of your assets. And similarly, you have an API to also fetch all the definitions. So the property library, which we just noticed, utilizes these definitions API. You can define definitions for alarms, events, or any measurement or any other managed object which we have in Cumulocity. So you can use APIs for them, and then they directly appear in the property library. Another plugin which we have introduced in the last quarter is the data points plugin. So I had provided a very short demo of this functionality in the last webinar, and now we have added this as a plugin into our DTM plugins offering. The data points plugin allows you to link your device data points to assets. So customers utilized a Digital Twin Manager to define their whole asset hierarchies and then link the relevant devices. But along with this, now you can also link the relevant data points to the asset hierarchy. So for an example, if you have a case where you have your customers, which has a factory hierarchy, then a production line, and then a vacuum chamber, now you can use this data point template to link the relevant data points on each hierarchy level. So you can kind of use this link button and then kind of navigate to the right device in the hierarchy, and then use that as an option to link the relevant data point directly over here. This allows you to define the expected metadata on the asset. So now when we kind of utilize this data into AI Agent Manager, you will be able to define what are the possible data points which this asset hierarchy will have, and what's the source of that. A quick note over here: both these functionalities, the API documentation and this data point selector, both the plugins are available, but both of these utilize the APIs, which is the definitions API and assets API, and both of those APIs are currently in preview. If you would like to try these APIs, do let us know. We would be happy to extend you the preview version of that. As a one hint, in the coming quarter, we will be utilizing this metadata to help you bring data on the asset. So once you create a hierarchy and define the linked data points, you will also be able to kind of bring this data directly on the asset, which will then enable dashboards on the assets. Now moving on to the other enhancements. Okay. One enhancement which we have done one enhancement which we have done in the last quarter is also improving the search. Previously, we used to have a full text search, meaning if you search a device name, that would also search in the descriptions of the devices, all external IDs and everything, which meant that even if when you were searching a very, let's say, a specific text, if it was part of the description or any other text in the other manage object or the devices, it used to come up over here. In the last release, we have replaced this this full text search with a wildcard search. Now, when you type any single word, it adds a wildcard against each word you are typing, and then it brings out the right result. This will mean that you get the results faster, and you only get the meaningful results. So this will only search into the name of the manage object. So now, if you used to search based on the external IDs or the descriptions, they may not work. In case if you would like to revert to the old kind of mechanism, you can still use a feature flag to disable the new search and enable the older one. One another enhancement which we have done in the new search is we have made it context aware. So now, if you are already into one of the asset, you can also very specifically highlight that you would like to make the search within the context of that asset itself. So this search is already live. You can experience this on your tenants over the CD. One new upcoming enhancement in the coming versions would be improved global time context. So you would have noticed that in the last few quarters, we have been improving our global time context functionality. The global time context functionality helps you to provide a single time context to all the widgets you have on the platform. So this is a preview version of the new functionality where we have improved the global time context and added few new functionalities. So let's take a look at the functionalities first. So now the global time context will have two separate modes. One would be the live mode and one would be the historical mode. In the live mode, you can utilize the existing pre-configured let's say time selections which are already available in the current one as well, but as well as you can now also define a custom time range and save this in the dashboard configuration. So for an example, if I would like the dashboard to always open up to consist data from 12 a.m. to now, I will simply set up the time over here and apply. So this is a rolling time context. So whenever I open this dashboard, this always open up exactly the same view. So if I open it up, let's say at 1 p.m., it will open from let's say like 12 a.m. to 1 p.m. Then if I open it at 2 p.m., so it keeps rolling on its own. And now we have introduced a new option to save this in the dashboard configuration. So this will now allow you to save the configuration in the dashboard so that when your customers open this dashboard, they always use this time context which we have saved over there. So now, let's say if I refresh this thing, you will always come up on this time. So now after 1 hour I'm opening this one, it still starts from 12 a.m. to let's say 5 p.m. It also has a dedicated history mode. So if you are trying to explore the data, which is, let's say, in past, you can then simply utilize this over here. And similarly, as of the live mode, you can also save this. So for an example, if you always want to see data of last 1 week and not of today, you can still set that up and save this in the dashboard configuration. Now you can also see the same is also reflecting in the widget. So that's a big announcement you are now having, that previously these settings used to be in the widget configuration, but now you can see that these settings are available on the widget screen itself. So now I can simply unlink the time context to a specific widget and a time window appears over here. I can also delink this to the automatic refresh window. So now all the widgets get a same refresh window, and then you can use this to kind of adjust the let's say, refresh window for each and every widget, or either you do it on the global level. So now if you see, if I try to change the time window on one of the widget, because all the data points are linked to the global time context, all the widgets are getting updated. Let me go and last day. So you can see that when I do this, all the widgets are getting updated simultaneously. So this makes it very easy to find the relevant data in the dashboard, because when you are trying to analyze data in the one widget, the others also get updated at the very same time. So you will notice this functionality in one of the upcoming releases in the next month. Yeah. Now coming back to our AI enhancements. So you would have noticed that we had introduced AI Agent Manager in one of the last webinars. So we had highlighted that that you can now create as many as AI agents you want, and then utilize them at a different sections. So for an example, we have an AI agent over here, which helps our users to generate HTML widgets. So users can kind of create their own AI agents, like as this is one of the example, and define the required specific prompts for this one. So for an example, in this prompt, we have specifically highlighted to the widget, to the AI that you have to analyze the request, use these APIs, you have to create a component in a specific phase. So you can define the prompt for, let's say, for your use case, and then utilize them. The AI Agent Manager also allows you to define the tools which this can access. So you can restrict the access of this AI agent to a specific toolings only. So if you, let's say, want it to only analyze alarms, you can restrict the access and only provide access to the alarms. Local provider. So one new enhancement we have done is the introduction of the local provider. So as of now, you can see that users can configure any of their provider in the section. So you can define, let's say, you can use OpenAI, you can use Azure, you can use DeepSeek, or you can use any of kind of LLM of your own choice. But along with this, if you would like to change the, let's say, provider for one of the agent, that you can also do now in the local provider. You can use this for multiple use cases. Like for an example, if you would like to kind of create a report, or let's say if you would like to analyze the alarms of last month, so you can define very specific AI agents for your system. Today, I'll be giving you a demo of the HTML AI agent. One kind of, let's say, a very interesting functionality over here is configuring the MCP servers. So if you are having your own ERP system, CRM systems, and they have functionality of MCP, you can also add the relevant MCP server over here. So when you kind of try to configure your AI agent, you can also provide it access to the relevant system, and then it can fetch data from both Cumulocity and as well as the CRM or ERP system. Let's see a very short demo of how this works. So now we have a AI agent for generating HTML widget. So I already have a few examples over here. So all these widgets in this screen are generated using this HTML widget. This HTML widget utilizes a preview feature. So we have a new improved HTML widget, so which was migrated from Angular to AngularJS to Angular, and now there is an enhancement in that widget that you can use the AI functionalities over there. So you can see the AI code assistance appears over here as a tab. for utilizing this, I would then switch on the developer mode and then go to AI Code Assistant. Here, I can give a specific prompt to the AI. For an example, help me creating a device status widget. So this will analyze all the devices within this hierarchy and then try to generate a widget out of this. One new enhancement we have done in the last few weeks is like kind of adding a support for streaming. So now, as in when the AI is sending a request, you can see the query in the real time, that how, like which tool it is calling. So for an example, in this case, it went ahead and got utilized the digital twin MCP server to get all the assets, and then it went through and kept calling all the assets, and then it analyzed that data, and then it went to call the specific manage object from the inventory, calling all the devices in the inventory, because we asked is to generate a device status widget. So this is how it will then kind of analyze and go through all the list and then to create a widget, and then finally it will generate a widget over here. So you can see all these steps happening over here, so that you can also debug it better. So in case if it is not calling the right, let's say, information from the APIs, you can then at least kind of modify the prompt and use that again. So now you can see on the right-hand side, it had generated all the kind of the required widget and utilize all the devices over there. In case if you want to make it a, let's say, change, let's say, add an option to export these things in CSV, it will now go and kind of make an update to this one. Once it does the update, you can also revert to the older one. So you can kind of choose the option, and then you can, once it appears over here, you can also revert back to the older version. So in case if the prompt was wrong, or if AI kind of did a blunder, you can also go back to the older one and restart with a new prompt. Okay. One new important enhancement which we have done in the last quarter is also Cumulocity Cortex. So you notice that we have been trying to improve all the, let's say, functionalities, fundamental capabilities, where you can use them to, let's say, create relevant content for your assets. Simultaneously, we are trying to utilize this context in different applications, let's say cockpit, digital twin manager, device management. And for an example, we are trying to also utilize this in the AI agent manager. And now we would also like to, let's say, help our customers to use these functionalities in their own applications. So for that purpose, we have a Cumulocity Codex available. So whenever we are developing any features, we kind of try to develop them in a way that we create it as form of components. So if you are developing a widget, we try to see how many, let's say, components are required there. If it's existing, we reuse them. If not, then we contribute new components. So all those things comes to Codex. So you can see that we have been contributing all the possible components we are using in our UI applications over here. So for an example, you can see that the drop area, which we utilize at different sections, is already available here as a component. And similarly, when you create your own UI applications or UI widgets, you can make use of these components. And as in one experiment which we are doing internally, that we were also trying to utilize the exact same components with our AI HTML generator. So AI will have the proper context that all these components exist, and then it can generate a better widget out of it. That brings me to the end of my part of the presentation.
Great, thanks, Rahul. That was very helpful. Looks like we have a few questions in the chat. So first is a question: does the new properties library support complex objects, and how can we enable the new asset properties functionality in our tenants? And you're on mute, Rahul.
Sorry, yeah, the new property library also supports the complex properties over there. For enabling this new functionality, as this is currently in the private preview, you would need to reach us, and maybe within next 5 to 6 weeks, this will be available for all the customers. So in the meantime, if you would like to try that out, definitely reach us out, and we will try to help you with a private preview version of the property library.
And it looks like our next question, this is more of I guess, a big picture question, but I've asked if you can explain the main advantages of the new Digital Twin Manager feature and the associate asset hierarchy in non-technical ways. And I think maybe more what the big picture benefits are of this new features.
Okay. Well, I'll try to share that advantage in, let's say, a short para over here, but definitely I would also like to then connect after the call or maybe in the coming weeks to discuss this in detail. So with Digital Twin Manager, it allows you to define, let's say, the required metadata for your assets hierarchy. You can also use Digital Twin Manager to define your assets model and then use those asset models when you are creating your instances. So for an example, if you have, let's say, thousands of vacuum chambers spread across the continent, you can define a single model for the asset or for, let's say, your vacuum chamber, and you can define, let's say, which asset properties are mandatory there, which are optional, and which type of child asset models the vacuum chamber can consist. And then you can deploy this single asset model on all the let's say, thousands of your vacuum chambers. So this allows you to kind of define the schema once and then keep reusing it at multiple places. Now, if you want to define a dashboard for the vacuum chamber, you define it once, and then you can reuse the same on all the assets which are of the type vacuum chamber. But let's discuss this also in detail in a separate call. So I'll take the contact details from Alex and then also try to set up a short call to discuss this further.
Yeah, so sure, we'll follow up with you directly to discuss and make sure we're getting you the information you need. And then one additional question about the AI code assistant. So that only uses the provided models. Is that correct?
No. So you can use, let's say, all the 15 LLM providers we are supporting, and there you can define, let's say, the name of the model you are using. So let's say tomorrow there is a new model, let's say GPT-6. You just need to update the name of the model. It supports it out of the box then.
Perfect. And it looks like those are all of the questions right now. So I think we can go ahead and pass it on to, I think Aaron and Ruben are going to present about device management and ThinEdge. So over to you, Aaron.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Alex, for the introduction. Also, warm welcome from my side. I will directly continue with the device management part, what new innovations and improvements we have to share here. First of it will be the new measurement tab, which I've already talked about in last time. It's now in public preview. So the measurement tab actually already exists for a while. The purpose is to investigate which data points are being sent by the device to see whether everything you expect is actually coming in, or if you want to investigate a specific data point. However, in the past, we used to have one graph for each of the data points, which makes it a bit hard to identify specific ones, especially if the data, if your device is sending hundreds of data points, then you have to scroll through all the different graphs. That's why we decided to adopt the Data Explorer that's also available in Cockpit, now also in the Measurement tab, which allows you to basically deactivate and activate each of the data points. We also still have the functionality that this will be pre-filled with each and every data point that is being sent by the device. So we will still get the full overview while being able to activate and deactivate, and thereby manage to see to manage whatever you want to see and to further investigate, potentially also to correlate different data points in one graph. So this will be an enhancement, making it easier for you to look into the measurements sent by a specific device. That's the first public preview. We also now have the OPC UA integration via ThinEdge as the next public preview. So in the past, we used to have the OPC UA as a standalone component, so the gateway part that needed to be deployed on site to connect to your OPC UA servers. We now moved to a new model, which basically deploys the OPC UA gateway as a Docker container on top of ThinEdge. This brings the benefit that you can do basically the management functionality or your operation of the gateway through ThinEdge, which then takes care of the authentication of the update process, and also the communication to the cloud, which makes this part way easier. And you also have the benefit of the OPCOA data now being published in the ThinEdge JSON MQTT format to an MQTT broker. So you also have a way higher degree of flexibility when it comes to transforming and also routing the payload that is being ingested from the servers through the gateway. The next topic, parameterization, which is currently still in private preview. Here we are improving the topic of configuration, which is actually a quite big topic. There are various different things to be covered in use cases, from the communication interval of your device agent, from the way the data is being read from your bus, if you have a Modbus integration or something like that, to the parameterization or defining set points on your asset. So be it the pitch angle of your rotor blade, or the temperature of your oven, or if you have a process that you want to control, then you always need to do certain configurations, and basically thereby moving from this unidirectional communication to a bidirectional communication when sending also commands down. For that, we actually already had some functionalities in place, like Cloud Field Bus for configuring Modbus reads or other bus protocol reads, the device shell to send shell commands to the device, as well as the configuration management, which includes the management of configuration files and the deployment of configuration files. But all those options require a certain technical knowledge, in a sense that you need to know what you do. You can potentially also damage your device if you send down the wrong shell commands or the wrong values to your device, because there's no validation of the value ranges that you basically set. And it's also really difficult to use for business users or users that are not deep into the technical integration of your specific device. That's why we now, with parameterization, address this particular issue by providing the ability to basically leverage the property library in the Digital Twin Manager to model parameters, and allowing also to contextualize them, add a description, what is actually the meaning of this parameter, to define a value range, which will then be used also for the validation. And so the device then sends updates or sends parameter updates, which will then be combined with the definition that is being set up in DTM. And for each device that is sending parameter updates, you will then in a dedicated tab see a list of all supported and sent parameters for the device, including then the description and also the chance to edit the value. So you will be able to send down new parameter change commands, and you also will have the kind of auditability functionality, in a sense that all operations that will be sent in order to set a new target state will be recorded and will be also here in this operation history. And you will also get the event history, basically as a kind of trail showing the changes on the device side. And last but not least, one other feature we are currently working on, which will be available very soon, is the device info dashboard per device type. So we are basically leveraging here the dashboard manager that you might already know in the context of Cockpit. So already quite some time ago, we added the capability to modify the device info page for each device. So each device has a device info page, which was consists of a specific set of widgets. In the past, we made this editable and customizable, but only on a per device level. And especially if you're operating larger fleets of devices, it's quite tricky, and it's a lot of effort to basically maintain and manage that in a larger scale. And that's why we are basically here also leveraging now the dashboard manager, allowing you to only set up this dashboard, desired dashboard, for a specific device type once, define this as a kind of blueprint and also apply this blueprint then to each and every device of this type, and also manage these dashboards, which makes this process way easier. And that's basically already it. I would here like to also forward to Ruben, who will introduce you to the next innovations that we have in this space of ThinEdge. Thanks.
Hi. Thanks, Aaron. So, hi, everyone. My name is Ruben Miller. I'm the product owner for ThinEdge. So since last time we spoke, we have had a new release of ThinEdge 1.6, where on top of all the additional kind of like minor improvements and bug fixes, which are all detailed on our 100% open source project, I want to go over some of the main kind of feature highlights. So firstly, we have a new diagnostic command, which enables it enables users to easily collect diagnostic information on the device. I'll go into that deep dive a little bit on the next slide. But it just kind of eases the story if you want to create a ticket or trying to diagnose what's going on to gather all of the information you need to then do that post-analysis. The second feature is an extension to the configuration management to also support the creation of parent directories. And whilst that might sound really, really mundane, it's actually really powerful for two reasons. Or I wanted to highlight it for two reasons. The first one, this enables a seamless kind of integration with device profiles. So with device profiles that you can couple configuration management updates, but also like software updates. So you can actually do the preparation, which may be required for actually installing software. So you can kind of pre-configure your application before installing it. So that means the first time it comes up, it has all of the required configuration it needs. So the second point why this is interesting is, I think this is a great example that this feature was actually introduced by a customer. So a customer created an issue on GitHub and then made their case, and we were like, that makes 100% sense. That would be a great addition to ThinEdge, and then we implemented it. So it just shows that by being able to post a ticket on GitHub, you can really contribute to the project. Like, it doesn't have to be a code change. The last part would be continuing our kind of hardware security module support and integration, especially when it comes to users of the Cumulocity certificate authority feature. So now that we have seamless integration with HSMs, so this means once you've issued a certificate, everything will renew the certificate automatically for you. So there's no special handling that you have to do for the HSMs once you've done the initial setup. So it's really like a hands-off kind of approach to then to handle your certificate renewals, which is absolutely critical when you're talking about cloud communication. The last thing you want to happen is your certificate expires and then you're not be able to connect to the cloud. So I wanted to highlight one of the diagnostic collection, just to give a bit of an insight how we kind of approach things with ThinEdge. So we always had a bit of a problem that, if someone created a customer ticket and said, hey, something's not working properly, we always had like a bit of back and forth with the customer saying, what do I need to diagnose the issue? And so we kind of put our minds together and thought, okay, let's make a easy to use command, which then collect all the data necessary. But whilst we want to provide like the information that we need to diagnose your application or the problem, we also want to expose that as a plugin interface to allow you to also then assist your customers. So you can add like additional application diagnostic information to that kind of collected diagnostic information. So if you need to support your customers and you're building your solution on top of ThinEdge, then it's quite critical that you also have your business layer and applications included in that diagnostic collection. And like anything that we do, we always like to make sure that all these different features play nicely with each other. So a while back, we added support for doing a binary upload to Cumulocity. So you can use this diagnostic command to seamlessly then upload that to Cumulocity if your connection is then working at the time. So I think it's a good way that we just highlight how we work and how we're thinking a little bit more broader scope, that we're not just thinking of us, but we're also thinking of how can people extend it to then meet their use case. Then I wanted to give a bit of an update on what's next. So some of the upcoming features. So these are actually merged into main branch already. So they'll be in the next release, which is scheduled shortly. So the first one is a missing feature that we've had for quite a while. So we'll now enable users to publish units to measurements. So for Cumulocity users out there, this has been kind of like the missing feature for a while now. So we finally implemented that so people can use it to then have units attached to their measurements. So you get all of the out-of-box kind of experience in Cumulocity to see what units your measurements are in. Then we also have a great extension to the log interface. So we're actually opening up the log interface to create a polygon concept. So for those users familiar with the software management plugin, it's very similar to that. So this enables us to deliver journal D, so like the system D kind of logger out of the box. So you can collect application information from those applications that are connected via journal D. So this means you can also populate the list dynamically of all the different log types based on your service. So if you install a service, which is a system D, you don't need to configure anything in the log plugin anymore. It will automatically detect it, and then you can fetch the logs accordingly. So you'll see that kind of propagate through all of our other plugins, like the Tej container plugin, once this feature gets released. And the last feature, which there's an open PR and not merged yet, is about the last kind of integration with the hardware security module that we want to add a new command to make it easy for users to create a private key, which is like the initial process on onboarding advice. So we want to make that with out-of-the-box CLI commands from ThinEdge. So just to reduce kind of dependency on third-party tooling and really make it a seamless approach if you're using HSM or not HSM. So as always, you can create tickets for us on GitHub or look at our code if you want to kind of dive into any of the features or PRs as we merge them. Okay, so that concludes my section. So I guess we can open up for a short Q&A session.
Hey, thanks, Ruben. And it doesn't look like we have any questions in the chat just yet, but I'll go ahead and ask a question that I have is, do you think we could drop a link in the chat for everyone to where they can submit tickets on GitHub so they have that,
absolutely.
Everyone can bookmark that and have it accessible. So yeah, we'll go ahead and Ruben will drop that in the chat in a minute. But it doesn't look like we have any other questions coming through. So we'll go ahead and turn things over to Jane and to Tal to discuss data management. Thanks, Ruben.
Thank you very much, Alex. Right, so I probably know most people on here. Jane Porter, Product Manager for the Platform Services area. I've just got a couple of slides to go over some of the things that we've delivered in Q3. Mainly the delivery part of the team has been focused on some API updates. Some of this has been planned for quite a long time, like the delete by ID. For those of you that have been following us, you know that we've actually now got a time series collection. But some of you were very reliant on delete by ID. Well, that finally got enabled by MongoDB version 7. So we've now re-enabled that API for the time series collection on Cumulocity. Please do be aware that it doesn't perform as well as the other approaches to deleting your time series data. So if you can delete by query or using retention rules, that is what we would propose you do. But if you do need delete by ID, it's now available for you. So you can start working on it, making sure it works as you need it to, performs as you need it to, so that you can start that migration to the time series collection. We've made some update to the latest value. We now support the latest but one. So you get now 2 values on the latest value. We've got stronger consistency so that if your device is sending data slightly out of order, that you don't end up not really getting the latest value. So we respect that. Both of those are now GA. Both of those have been in public preview. So you are now good to go on both of those areas. We've improved the event and alarm APIs so that you now have a with source addition parameter. And we have also done some inventory API updates so that when we return the number of parents, we return the actual number rather than just setting a limit of 3. So some nice usability enhancements there around our APIs, none of which are going to break anybody using the API as it currently stands. And now what I want to do is give you a quick update on where we are on 2 really quite important features that have been in public preview for the past quarter. The certificate authority is in the process of going to general availability. It's in the train right now to start being deployed. There's just one breaking change between public preview and general availability. If you've actually got a POC that's been running, you will need to re-register any device that you have on that POC in order to be able to use the full capability of the certificate authority feature. For the MQTT service feature, which I know that we're all really excited about, we said that we were going to make all breaking changes as quickly as we could from the public preview to GA. We've done that. The Java Client SDK has been deprecated and has been replaced by a direct messaging service API that you can use. Device isolation has been enabled by default. So you can start getting used to both of those different approaches right now. And I'm also pleased to announce that the dynamic mapper has also been updated. So we're working very hard now in the background on all of the other features that we want to complete before GA. And one of those has been a really important feature that we've spoken about quite a lot. That's data preparation. We work closely with our colleagues in the data preparation team. And I'm not going to say any more because then I would actually be ruining Tal's rather splendid presentation. So Tal, I'm going to hand over to you and you can tell everybody about the data preparation.
Thanks, Jane. So everything you heard up until this point has been, what's new, what's happening, what is Cumulocity delivering this quarter or next quarter. What I'm going to take you through now is sort of a broader vision going into 2026 and onwards, right? And this topic of data preparation. Now, what is data preparation? It's simply the act of taking your raw device data, converting it into clean, consistent Cumulocity format data, and adding any enrichments or quality checks or any additional enhancements that you're looking to do, right? It's simply that process of getting your data from device into Cumulocity, right? That's really what we're talking about when we say data preparation. So if you ever hear that term in a future webinar or later today, that's really what we're talking about. Is this process of converting that raw device data into that Cumulocity format, right? And where do we see this data preparation world sitting within the broader Cumulocity architecture, right? As Jane just kind of informed you about the new MQTT service, right? That's kind of the data acquisition side. That's how do we get data into Cumulocity, right? And we don't just have the MQTT service coming on board. We also, of course, have all of our device protocols, everything that you know and love with regards to device management. But after you onboard that data, right? That's really where this data preparation component comes in, right? It's how do I take this raw, unprocessed data and process it such that it's usable with my operational data store, my dashboards, or even in the future, our Iceflow or DataHub products as well, right? So it's this intermediary step between the data acquisition and the use of the data downstream, right? And data preparation is not just one thing. There's a lot of things that can go on inside of data preparation, right? So we're talking about harmonization, right? So that means converting or normalizing your units, right? I'm obviously an American, right? So all of my data points would be in Fahrenheit, but if you want to take those and convert those to Celsius, right, that would be on the harmonization layer, right? We also do things like enrichment. So for example, Rahul mentioned the digital twin manager, walked you through all of that. There's a lot of context that's stored in that digital twin manager. We want to pull that into the data preparation solution such that when you are onboarding device data to Cumulocity, you can add that context directly on those measurements coming on board, right? And lastly, validation. We want to make sure that if you get a data point that's out of bounds or unexpected or outside of the time box you expect, right? How do you deal with that? How do you throw away those unnecessary data points so that they don't affect things like your analytics or your dashboarding down the line, right? All of this is under the scope of data preparation, right? And this is really what Cumulocity is now investigating. How do we bring a new data preparation component to market such that it is useful for all of you, right? So taking a step back, we took a look at how do you all, all of our customers, how do you guys onboard data to Cumulocity today, right? And typically it looks, something like this, right? You have your raw device data, it's in JSON, it's in binary, it's something like that. And you've written some sort of conversion code to process that raw data and convert it to the Cumulocity data format of measurements, events, alarms, inventories, etc. Right? That conversion code that's sitting in the middle there, that's usually in some form of device agent, a custom microservice, a custom solution on the edge. It's really this customized kind of solution that all of you are creating in code, right? And that means you need developers, you need all of these different, you need operations, you need all of these different things to fall in place in order to support that code as it's going forward, right? Now, we do already have some solutions out there, right? We have things like our certified device partners, which talk in Cumulocity's language. We also have the dynamic mapper, which I'll touch on more in just a bit. But the key challenge that we identified is you guys need custom development for data preparation today, right? That means you need developers, you need operators, you need maintenance, you need a CI/CD pipeline, you need all of this stuff in order just to get data onto Cumulocity. And we set about trying to figure out a way that we can ease that process. We want to make it easier to onboard data to Cumulocity, right? Now, Nico showed this slide earlier, but I really like this slide because it highlights, the end-to-end how data goes from here to there using Cumulocity, right? And the point that I want to make here is with the new MQTT service coming online, your raw device data will be in the cloud, right? It will be in sort of ready to go with Cumulocity. The problem is it's not in Cumulocity's format. It's in whatever raw device format that device is talking in, right? And that's really where we see this data preparation component existing, right? Next to and alongside that new MQTT service, we want to have a component that allows you to quickly and easily process that data and turn it into a Cumulocity format so that you can do things downstream with it, right? Analytics, you can run your streaming analytics on top of it. You can offload it via DataHub. You can use the digital twin manager to simulate your floors, all of that sort of stuff, right? This data preparation solution is sort of the bridge between the MQTT service and the downstream applications provided by Cumulocity and outside of Cumulocity, right? That's really where we see this data preparation fitting. So the other big thing that we're investigating is an AI-first approach to data preparation, right? One of the things that we consistently hear across the board is, hey, how is Cumulocity using AI, right? What is Cumulocity going to do with AI in the future? How are we going to leverage AI to better provide a solution through Cumulocity, right? And data preparation is a really, really good spot that we can use AI to assist you all in onboarding your data to Cumulocity, right? We are targeting a AI-first user experience with the data preparation component that we're building, right? So that means code creation, validation, testing, monitoring, logging, all of that comes on board using an AI assistant that can help you do all of this, right? And we've spent a lot of time validating this approach, right? We've had discussions probably with some people on the call today, right? And a lot of people view data preparation as a great area where AI can be leveraged, right? If you think about what data preparation is, it's taking from format A to format B, right? And if you give an AI agent, those two formats and say convert between them, the AI will be able to do that pretty successfully. In all of our testing, we've had, far exceeded our expectations with how AI responds to this ask. So we really believe that an AI-first approach is the correct way to go for such a data preparation component, right? And just kind of reiterating my point here, why do we want to move this to an AI-driven approach? The first reason is we want to reduce the development time. As I previously mentioned, currently there's a lot of custom development necessary for onboarding data to Cumulocity, or traditionally there is, right? That means you need developer time. That means you need people that know how to code in order to onboard data into Cumulocity, right? We want to reduce that, right? Now, obviously, this is going to be an AI first coding based approach, but you and I don't know how to code, but I can talk in natural language to an AI chatbot and it can produce code that works for me, right? We want to dramatically reduce the amount of development time necessary to onboard data into Cumulocity, and this is a great way to do it. Right. And as I just mentioned, you don't need to be a coding expert to do it. With an AI chatbot, I'm sure we've all used ChatGPT or Claude or something to write some simple script, right? It's really easy to onboard data in this way, to produce some code that works, right? And that allows people to focus on the business value of your data rather than worrying about how am I going to deploy this code? How am I going to update this code? How am I going to make sure that this code runs on my devices, right? We want to make sure that you all can focus on the business value out of Cumulocity and what you're actually doing with that valuable data that you're pumping into Cumulocity, right? And then lastly, Cumulocity is a leading IoT platform. I'm sure you all heard the recent news about the Gartner Magic Quadrant, but we want to, really ensure that AI is used across the platform as it's a booming technology, and we want to make sure we're leading at the forefront of the so-called AIoT space, right? We want to make sure that we are the leading player, not only in IoT, but also AIoT as well, right? So this AI-first approach that we're taking to data preparation has been validated, and we're really excited about bringing this to you all. So, at its core, right, let's take a kind of a broader step back. How does data preparation work, right? So you have your raw input device data, right? So as I mentioned previously, here's an example where we have a temperature in the Yankee unit of Fahrenheit, right? And then what we're going to offer is a data preparation engine that's sitting within Cumulocity, right? So you have the ability to create custom rules using an AI assistant, and that AI assistant will then be deployed to your Cumulocity tenants, and it will allow anything that comes in matching that format to be processed by this rule and then output into the platform itself, right? So in this case, we just have some pseudocode here that's taking that Fahrenheit value, converting it into Celsius, right? But I hope you can understand, the power of this, right? You can take any input format using this data preparation engine and convert it to a Cumulocity format, right? That's really what we're targeting throughout this component, right? Now, where do we stand today, right? So development is beginning now, right? We spent a long time doing investigation work, collecting requirements, understanding what needs to be done in order to support such a data preparation component within Cumulocity, right? And so you can see this is, of course, a very high level roadmap, subject to change, of course, but it is, I show this slide not to go through the details, but to tell you we are beginning development now, right? We know that this is an important area, especially as the new MQTT service that Jane mentioned is coming online next year. We want to make sure that we are providing a complete end-to-end data management solution through Cumulocity IoT, and the data preparation component will be the next evolution of that. It's the next step in that. So if you have any comments, if you have requirements, please don't hesitate to get in contact with me. Now's a really great time as we are getting started with the development to hear your requirements and really understand what you need out of such a data prep component. Now, if all of this sounds familiar, wait a second, I thought Cumulocity has a data preparation solution. Yes, we do. We have this lovely, amazing open source component called the Dynamic Mapper, built by Stefan Witschel and Christoph Strack. Dynamic Mapper has accelerated our development of our own, data preparation solution that will sit within the product components because they've done a lot of the headwork in validating those requirements, right? We also know that the Dynamic Mapper is of incredible value to a lot of customers. I have a quote here that says, "I want this as part of the product," right? So we know such a data preparation or data mapping solution would be very important to ship alongside the standard Cumulocity set of products, right? And that's why we're investing the R&D efforts now into developing a new component that'll sit within Cumulocity, right? We're really taking the learnings of the Dynamic Mapper and applying those as we build out this solution, right? Now, I will say, I'm mentioning, this data preparation component. We are starting development now, so we're not even at the phase of private preview yet, right? We're just getting started. But if you do have data preparation or data mapping needs, the Dynamic Mapper is available open source to you right now, right? It's a complete solution, and as Jane just mentioned, it was just recently updated with support for the public preview of the MQTT service, right? So The dynamic mapper is available for you today, and we are taking the learnings from and the feedback from the dynamic mapper and applying that to our new development work of a data preparation component. Right. So this is my summary here. We have a new AI-first data preparation that is in development now. The dynamic mapper is available today for any of your data mapping needs. And if you have any use cases, any requirements, anything that you think would be relevant to bring to the discussion, please don't hesitate to contact me. I am more than eager to dive into your use cases, understand your requirements, and really build something that's valuable for you all, right? The screenshot on the slide is just a mock-up that we're working on, but if you want to kind of go through that mock-up, give your feedback on it, please don't hesitate. I'm more than happy to take you through that. Okay. So that's the end of the data management section from Jane and I. I guess we will pause if there are any questions.
Hey, thanks, Tal. That was a great overview of all that's going on to help ease data preparation and take advantage of AI. Looks like there's not any questions in the chat at this point. So we'll vamp for a minute and pause and see if any questions come in.
No questions means we did our job well, right?
It was very informative. Oh, it looks like we do have one question. Asking, data preparation feels a bit like old CEL rules. Is that?
Yep. I mean, yes, I think our data preparation component is a little bit more focused towards the Cumulocity specific use cases, right? So getting the data in to Cumulocity format. But theoretically, it's a common language expression. We're going to initially support the JavaScript coding. So it is similar to that, yes.
And looks like we have another question that's come in. What models will be available to be used for data preparation?
What models? I'm not sure I understand the model question.
The AI models.
Oh, the AI model. So the AI for the AI first approach in data preparation will be piggyback off of what Rahul mentioned previously, which is of course the AI agent manager. So it will be whatever AI API key that you provide. We've tested it with ChatGPT, with Claude, with Gemini, with a bunch of different models that we can use for that, and all of them have high levels of success. So put it this way, we're not too worried about the model behind the AI. We think that it's going to be a success.
DYOLLM, I guess. And then another question, the dynamic mapper, will that work with lightweight M2M data?
I don't want to say yes off the top of my head because I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure it will. But we could check on that and get back to you.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So Alvaro will follow up with you on that as well. It looks like those are all of the questions. So I think our last section is on data analytics and AI, and Aaron and Chris will be taking us through that. So we'll go ahead and turn things over to them.
Thanks a lot. Here I am again. Unfortunately, our colleague Nick van Dam is today not able to join. That's why I'm taking over this section. But I'm really excited to be able to now present you and introduce you to the new smart rules. So I guess smart rules is nothing very new to you. Smart rules have existed for quite a while. And they bring, for example, the benefit of being easily accessible, for example, in the cockpit, where we have a bunch of predefined smart rules. But they also do have certain limitations because basically you have your library of smart rules in cockpit, but it's restricted to the 11 ones that are pre-configured. So you don't have really a chance to change some parameters of those or add new ones. We do have in the analytics, in streaming analytics, also the chance to create additional rules. But those will then only be accessible to the ones with the access to streaming analytics. And it also requires some technical knowledge, and it is not yet possible to really make this easily accessible, though these pre-configured additional rules to other users that, for example, only have access to device management or only access to cockpit and that don't have this technical knowledge that is required to basically set them up. So there's a bit of a gap between those that do have the access and the technical knowledge and the ones that also still want to leverage them in various places. That's why we decided to go the next step, have a new evolution of the smart rules, and basically leverage the benefits of both worlds, the flexibility that you have with the analytics builder, allowing you to basically build whatever rule you want to accommodate the logic that you need for your specific use case, and to at the same time make it easily accessible. So we will also provide the same user experience that we had for smart rules, that everyone basically in the platform can use it. But we even go one step further, though. You can basically deploy them everywhere, not only on a device level, but also on group level, on any asset level or asset hierarchy level that you want. So you have full flexibility on that end. But we also make those rules available not only in cockpit, but for example, also in device management, and also in the specific context where they matter. For example, we will introduce, and maybe let's directly go to the next tab there, you can directly see it. We also make the smart rules now available in, we have a dedicated tab in the device management application for each device. So you can deploy then specific additional smart rules to your device in device management, and you can even further configure them. So we also have some additional samples we provide out of the box for specifically the device management use case, which include, for example, if your measurement that's sent by the device exceeds a certain limit or a certain range that you've defined prior, we also have this geofence functionality where we can define a rule and with this rule a geofence for this device, and maybe be it an excavator. And once the excavator leaves the construction site, you will automatically be able to trigger an alarm. And the benefit here is also that you basically can configure this smart rule additionally then in this specific device context, where you can not only activate a specific smart rule, but then also set certain parameters and thereby also contextualize the rule. But these are just examples. As said, you have with the streaming analytics access also full flexibility of creating your own smart rules. We also discussed various use cases in the context of device management. For example, health monitoring, monitoring the handling of operations on your device side, and or the custom availability monitoring. So there are various use cases, and you really can create something that is relevant for your specific scope and use case. So the new smart rule functionality is already available as of today as public preview. You can just activate it like any other public preview in the preview tab, and you will also be able to leverage the already existing smart rules that you already know, the 11 ones that I mentioned that are already existing in the library, were existing in the past, that are also created with the new smart rules, and you don't have to start from scratch. So start whenever you want to give it a try, and let us know what your experience is, and share your feedback. Would be very appreciated. With that, I would like to hand over to Chris, speaking a bit about DataHub. Thank you.
Hi, 2 seconds. I just need to share my screen, which I've lost the button for, Alex. There we go. So we haven't talked about DataHub in quite a while on any of these, and not because we've not been busy, we have, but you will hear a lot more about DataHub over the coming quarters. But this was something we really wanted to kind of talk about, because this is actually, in my humble opinion, really cool. So for those of you who use DataHub, you'll know underneath DataHub, we OEM, and quite proudly OEM, Dremio as our query engine. So earlier, well, a few months ago, Dremio brought out an MCP.
Sorry to interrupt. You're actually all of us on your screen.
Okay, that worked well, didn't it? It worked when we tested it, didn't it? Let me.
It did. You're just showing the wrong screen, I think.
I'm supposedly showing a tab, but let's go for the entire screen. Is that better, Jane?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, I don't think what I said, the slide and what I said are in sync. Yeah, so we use Dremio, and Dremio brought out an MCP. And what that allows us to do is query the data you have offloaded with DataHub using your favorite LLM. So proper natural language against it. So what we've done with this is we've taken it and we've forked it. It's open source from Dremio, and made the changes necessary so you can run it inside Cumulocity. So the MCP will run as a microservice. And using the public preview of the AI manager that Rahul showed you earlier in this session, and an AI chat which I think Nico built, we've embedded this inside Cockpit. So I'm going to show you a few videos and what this looks like and what sort of things I can do with it. It's bring your own LLM, as the agent manager is, but as you can see in this screenshot, I have the Dremio agent. We're still tweaking it and renaming it a little bit. So we have this AI chat widget, and I can now start to ask this question. So I started out with a very simple question, and hopefully the videos will all work, of just what tables can you see? Now, I have videoed this and I have shortened the length of time because there's a lot of factors on what the response time is like. So I'm going to be very open that, you know, the performance will vary based on a lot of factors. But I started out with just that very simple question. What tables can you see? And what I've done on the next slide is drawn out the text of what it fed back to me and highlighted a few of the things that I found quite interesting straight away. It's determined it's Cumulocity IoT data. It's picked out the main tables I have offloading jobs for in DataHub. So I have alarms, events, my device inventory. I have some GPS tracking. All my data is simulated. You'll see that. And actually, the LLM calls me out on that. I've got location data and temperature measurements. It's telling me some views that might be interesting around the latest data, and that there's a bunch of views that are created for easy query. So straight away, you get a good overview of what you've got in your data lake. So the next question I asked it was, how many devices do I have and what are they? I just wanted to see kind of what it could figure out about the devices that I had connected to my Cumulocity tenant. So again, I've shortened the videos and reduced some of the time on it. And again, we'll deep dive into the results. So it told me I've got 5 devices. So I've got 3 devices which are temperature sensors, 2 are doing location, and it's called me out that they appear to be device simulators of IoT data. And when I ran this demo, the temperature sensors seem to be the most recently active. I recorded these videos about a month ago. So the next question I asked it was, well, what are the temperature profiles of my devices? Now, anybody who spends a lot of time writing SQL, I couldn't write some of the SQL as quick as this can. So the SQL is generating, and you can actually grab it out of Dremio. Is something that, you know, particularly on the next example I'll show you, I think would have had me scratching my head. So again, let's dive into what it's pulled out. So again, I have 3 active temperature sensor. It's given me a nice table showing me what the averages are, the min max, the date ranges. I've run them in the standard deviation, but it's also brought out some observations. They're consistent. Of course they are, they're temperature sensors and they're simulated. The range is very similar across all of them. I have excellent data quality because I've got 7.6 million measurements. It's over 15 months worth of data in here, and there's no significant temperature drifts or anomalies detected. And that's simulated data. But now imagine running this on your real device data, because over the past year or 2 years, and seeing what observations this is going to come out with. So by this point, I was getting quite bold with this. I've got location data, and as we know, location data, it's one row per measurement, per kind of reporting in. So to work out the location and the distance, we're starting to get into some quite complex SQL, because I need to look at how far it's moved between each row, calculate that. It's also latitude and longitude. So I threw that in. In real life, this takes, my data set, it took a good few minutes to come out with, and as I say, I've shortened it. And what I got back from that is one of the devices moved further than the other, but actually there was very little difference in it. Depending on which LLM I use underneath, one of them turned around and said, your devices appear to be in the Dusseldorf area. So different LLMs are adding different value to it. In this particular case, I think I'm using Sonnet, Anthropic's Sonnet model. As you see, the second place device traveled almost the same distance. Now, I thought about how long it would take me to have written the SQL to get that result out of DataHub and out of Dremio. I suspect it would have taken me a lot of Googling and the best part of a day. I'm rusty, to be fair, since I wrote SQL in anger. But what we wanted to do by bringing this to your attention is, for those of you who use DataHub, we're going to package this up. We're still in the process of that. We'll get that packaging out to people. We'll get some instructions on how to set it up in the AI agent and how to use it. And we want you to kind of spark the imagination. But what the other side of this is we're seeing a shift in analytics away from dashboards. I think dashboards will still have their place. People still like predefined views of data. And DataHub has all that integration into Power BI and Tableau and Qlik. But the ability to just ask those free-form questions and continue that thought of analysis in natural language, I think is going to be a game changer. Actually, in general, for the analytics market, I'm at Cumulocity, so I'm only interested in IoT data. But I think what we can do with this, and what we can sort of the way you can now work with that data that you've been diligently offloading, I think the insights people are going to get out of this are fantastic. So we wanted to get this out into people's hands. Now, if you can't wait the few weeks while it takes us to finish packing this up, you can actually use the Dremio MCP. So here's a screenshot where I use the Dremio MCP with Claude Desktop. Dremio have a free training module on exactly how to do this. So if you really wanted to get your hands on this today, it took me about half an hour to get it up and running. I didn't have Python installed or the right version, so there's a few dependencies on there. But you can get this running locally on your laptop or your desktop right now today using Claude. I've tried Perplexity. But we will package this up. We will get it out there. Going forward, we're talking to Dremio about what their plans are around this, about bringing it into their product formally rather than an open source component. So those conversations are ongoing. I talked with our product manager for this the other week, and he was blown away by what we'd done with it already, of just making it available inside our UI. So expect a lot more about this in sort of the AIoT and DataHub part. I don't know if we have any questions, Alex, because I can't see, but I will. I'll drop the screen sharing if I can find the button to do that.
Hey, thanks, Chris. Yeah, it looks like yes, we do have a questions come in. Can this be connected to Spaces?
Yes. So I know who's asking. So hi. Yes, absolutely. So when you actually configure the NCP, you connect it. It's actually connected to a Dremio user rather than a space. So, but a Dremio user has permissions in a space. So yes, it uses Dremio's personal authentication tokens to connect. Did I verify the results? Yes, I did, because we had a look at the SQL it generated. And it's, yeah, you know, it may not be the world's tightest SQL it wrote, but yes, we did have a look, and it is right. You know, I think having simulated data helps verify the results as well.
Yeah, and it looks looks like there was also a question about the simulated data showing sub-zero average temperatures from July to September in Dusseldorf. So
yeah, it's simulated data. Hands up! I'm not going to. I'm not going to. No, sorry, I completely forgot to turn my camera on. I'm not going to deny that. Yeah, it's the device simulators that exist inside Cumulocity. They're great for generating large volumes of data, but it's not particularly exciting data.
and it looks like we've got another question from Alvaro. Is his understanding that there was another Cumulocity MCP server that doesn't require having DataHub? Is that?
Yes, I believe we have a Cumulocity NCP server, which has got a particular set of actions in it. I'm not sure which of my colleagues on the call are best placed to speak about that. I'm not sure which of my colleagues on the call are still awake. But yes, there is a Cumulocity MCP server, which of course is constrained into the data set you have within Cumulocity. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, I think that's going to close our session today, the final topic. So I'm going to go ahead and launch the survey. If everyone can take a couple minutes to fill that out, we'd really appreciate it. But thank you all. Thank you all for your time today. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to the next one of these quarterly calls, which will be in 2026 in January. So almost to the end of the year. It's crazy to think, but thank you all again, and we'll talk to you soon.